The most useful things to know about Toastmasters International are sometimes unknown, sometimes overlooked, and sometimes underappreciated. Toastmasters and our guests who are terribly welcome to this club. I'm going to make a speech this evening about the most useful things I can think of about Toastmasters. And the reason I'm doing it is that Blarney Club has recently attracted quite a number of members who wouldn't be in the club even a year. And in that time, it's entirely possible that there'll be a lot of things about Toastmasters that you won't know. And I want to fill in gaps. And the other thing is that I'd like to remind some members of Toastmasters who are here and have been in Toastmasters for quite a while. I'd like to remind you about a few things which I think are important. And thirdly, if you like, I'd also like to say a few things that I'd like you to pass on to other people who are not members of Toastmasters as a possible way of attracting them to come along to a meeting and consider joining the organization. What I'd like you to do is to interrupt me a little bit during the speech if I say something which you don't understand, so that I can explain what I meant. And I'll also give some time at the end for comments and questions. If I say anything to you this evening, there are three things I want you to take away, please. Three important things about Toastmasters that I think go everywhere throughout the organization. First thing is that it's about the individual, you. Everything we have here, the club and all the policies, rules, regulations, education program is all designed to help you as an individual. The club is here to serve you. The second thing is that it's an educational organization. It's an organization which has meetings, but the meetings have a foundation of education conducted in a very friendly way. But I'll say quite a bit about education during the speech. And the third thing is that it's a voluntary organization. We're all volunteers. We give up our time voluntarily. But also there's a feature in Toastmasters, which is that people say yes. People, when they're asked to do things, volunteer. And sometimes, maybe quite often, people volunteer without even being invited to volunteer. I'm going to talk about Toastmasters in 6 different bits. And it's going to be quite wide-ranging, but let me begin with the club. Blarney Club here, for example. Every single Toastmasters club in the world has a purpose. It's what it stands for. And this is what we are committed. The club is committed to give you. And I'm going to quote, a supportive and positive learning experience. Supportive and positive learning experience in which all members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills. That's the reason why Blarney Club exists, to enable you to become empowered as a communicator and as a leader. By leader, I simply mean somebody who can have influence and will take responsibility for things. The development of communication and leadership skills in Toastmasters leads to two things. Self-confidence, doesn't it? Self-confidence and personal growth. Personal, I would say, personal and professional growth. Because when you improve your communication skills and your influencing skills, you get more confident. And it's that growth that helps you to have more success in society than you ever thought was possible. That's what it is at its very best. It enables you to grow more than you ever dreamed you could grow. Now, what's the overall purpose of Toastmasters? The overall purpose, a simple sentence that you can say to anybody, it's to empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. Empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. Easy to remember. But we do all this under the banner of 4 values. We have 4 key core values which relate to everything and which you can use as a member or as a guest to see, do these people show these values? Do we live them? Because lots of companies have values which they put up there and they don't really mean anything in practice. They just sound well. But in Toastmasters, our 4 values begin with integrity. Number 1, integrity. And that is having integrity in all of our dealings with each other. Being true to ourselves, telling the truth, being honest with people, and not being a charlatan and a liar and all the other things, acting with integrity. Second value is respect. Respect for each other. Even when we disagree with each other, even when we take opposite points of view. In everything to do with Toastmasters, we behave respectfully. And I want to thank you for the respect you paid at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you. Service to each other. Service. There's a word, service. As I said, the club is here to serve you, but it's more than that. We are each in Toastmasters to serve each other. Like a club is a small little community of people who meet. Occasionally, I would say, we only meet in Blarney on two evenings in a month. Other clubs, by the way, meet more frequently, and some clubs meet less frequently. But service. So there we have integrity, respect, service, and excellence. We try to do everything we do to a high standard. We're not messing around. We're not just being mediocre. We're actually putting in the effort to do things well all the time. When you join a Toastmasters club, and some of you here might even be thinking of joining, and some of you have joined very recently, you fill out an application form, and on the application form, there is something which is called the Toastmasters Promise. And although some people sometimes have missed it in the past, and we here in Blarney put a lot of emphasis on it, it is known as the Toastmasters Promise, and it's got 10 bits to it. And I want to run through them with you so that you can say to yourself, look, does this sound attractive to you? It's a bit like a manifesto. So first of all, I promised, that's what comes before it all. I promise to attend club meetings regularly. That's what the very first thing is, because being here for each other matters. And you can't help anybody else if you're not present at club meetings, although you can do things in between club meetings, but it has to be regarded as reasonable, as to make a serious effort to come to meetings regularly. The second one is to prepare all of the educational work that you do, any like a prepared speech, like that it fits in such a way that you do your best and you relate them. You relate your prepared speeches, your projects to the current educational program in Toastmasters, which is called Pathways. We'll come back to that a bit later on. The next part of it is to prepare and fulfill assignments at meetings, like many people have done already this evening. Prepare to play roles and volunteer to play roles, because all the club meetings have many roles. You'll have seen roles being carried out already this evening, and more carrying out will be done later on. And we can't run meetings and have quality meetings without people to play roles. So that's a promise people make. And to give, another part of it is to give helpful and constructive evaluations. Now we'll come on to feedback later on, but everything constructive. Constructive means that you help somebody, you're assisting them to build on what they've done, so that people gradually get better and better at communicating and influencing people. And also, I have promised, and every member of Toastmasters here has promised to help this club to maintain a great atmosphere, a positive, friendly environment. You see, people learn best when everybody is friendly to them. That has been well discovered. That's backed up by research. When you're doing something you enjoy and when you do it in a friendly situation, you're going to find it easier to learn and to apply what you have learned outside the organization. Now, the reason I'm talking about these promises, and there's a bit more to come, is that you, as the members of this club, can hold your club committee and you can hold each other to account, if you like. You can actually expect that we will keep our promises to you as an individual. And that's what we do our very best to do consistently. And any Toastmasters club you go to in the world, if it's any good at all, will be doing its best to follow this promise. I'll go through the rest of them. To treat members and guests with respect and courtesy. I've talked about that already. To bring guests to club meetings. And that's, who was it, Daniel or Lillian or whoever spoke about that before, how wonderful it is when people bring guests to meetings, because it helps us all who are at the meeting, because you know what it's like. If you're here on Zoom or even in a room or anywhere, the more people who are there, the more you're going to feel, hey, this is important. I'm going to make an effort here. And it's not as satisfying if you're there with just a small number of people. So it really is great to bring guests. And I will, as the club president, even ask you all, please bring guests along to meetings, because apart from anything else, you get to see when you're a guest, you get to see what Toastmasters is like. And you might decide as a guest, hey, this is relevant to me. This could help me learn English. It could help me get a job. It could help me in all sorts of ways. It might help you to play a bigger role in your local community, for example. And then finally, there's two more elements to the promise. To keep to the rules of Toastmasters. We have rules like every organization. There are rules and guidelines, and it's my job and it's the job of the club committee. I'll tell you about club committee in a few minutes, to help you to become familiar with what they are. If you're not aware that there are certain rules and guidelines for doing things, there's a whole load of advice in booklets about how to do things well. But it is the job of people who are leaders in the club to introduce them to you at a speed that will not overwhelm you, and to act within core values all the time: integrity, respect, service, and excellence when you're doing everything. So that's the big picture in relation to Toastmasters and what it's like. Let me give you a small bit of history. It began in 1924 in California. A man called Ralph Chestnut Smedley started it off. Ralph Chestnut Smedley. You won't hear him referred to as Ralph Chestnut. He's usually referred to as Ralph C. Smedley. Over there in a place called Santa Ana. And you can see 1924, 2024, not far away. We've existed for 98 years. Now, today, there are well over 250,000, 250,000 members in the whole world, individual members. Some members, by the way, are members of more than one club. There are people in this room who are members of several clubs. I have a little embarrassment. I'm a member of 6 clubs, but that's a bit excessive. That's just because I have the time to do it, and I'm absolutely mad about Toastmaster. There are over 16,000 of us, clubs, 16,000 clubs in the world in 144 countries. And there are over 100 clubs in Ireland. And the thing is, when you join Toastmasters and you can go to meetings in any country you like, you'll be welcomed, either online meetings or rock up face-to-face, just like we welcome people here. It really is a global organization with which almost specializes in being welcoming people and being friendly. Now, the club, our club here, doesn't exist in isolation. There are other clubs around us here. There are actually clubs are clustered together in what are called areas. I'm going to talk about the structure of Toastmasters now. So it's not just Blarney. There are 6 other clubs that are in our area. And there are 4 areas in a division. We're in a division which covers basically County Cork. So there are about 20 clubs in a division. So think about it as a little concentric circle. Club in the center, area around it, about 6, between 4 and 6, then about 20 clubs in a division, and then we get to what's called a district. And the district is Ireland, Scotland, half of England, and a little bit of North Wales. So that's a district. We could be describing a huge company, couldn't we? But there's more to it than the district, because the districts are all a group of districts, about 9 or 10 districts are put together into what's called a region. A region. And then you have international. Like, by the way, there is a regional advisor who goes around advising all the districts what to do or helping them. But there's an international board that gets elected. You get elected onto the international board for 2 years. And then there is a chief executive who's a full-time employee and has a whole staff. And the center is over in Colorado, which is in the United States. So there is a permanent staff, not very big. In fact, it's been reduced during the pandemic. And they've had to work really hard to keep on serving the members. But that's the structure of it internationally, if you like. Now, in this club, as you know, we have a president. All of these people get elected for 1 year. Lillian Courtney there is the second in command, if you like, in the club. She's the one who, if I don't come to a meeting, she'll be in charge of the meeting, because there's a little bit of structure. And then our vice president for membership, who's Dana, she's the third. Now, she actually has an assistant who's Daniel O'Donovan, who will be our vice president membership for the second half of the year. But they're the 3 roles, which are the 3 senior roles. And we have a secretary and a treasurer. She's Moira O'Brien. She'll be along a bit later on. We have public relations, our vice president for public relations. She's not here this evening. Her name is Antonia Harrison. She lives in the UK. See, we are an international club. We have members in other countries. We have members in America. We have members in Scotland. We have members in England. And I'm probably forgetting some members we have in other. Oh, yes, Dana's in Germany. Yeah. So we are an international club, thank goodness. And we meet here on Zoom. There are other clubs in Toastmasters which are very localized, and people go and meet face to face. and they don't have members from around from far away. So we offer, if you like, society a mixture of different kinds of clubs, and Blarney has been gradually becoming more and more international. We've got this wonderful name called Blarney, which is known in other places in the world. And so look, we have, did I mention Paul Collins, the Sergeant at Arms? I did earlier, Paul. So he's actually, would you believe it? He's actually the lead person on the social committee. Paul's job is to think about not only looking after some equipment and calling the meeting to order, but he's actually leader of the club's social committee. We don't actually have a social committee at the moment, but I'm sure Paul will be working on that in plenty of time for Christmas.
Right, Paul, just means I mustn't be very good if we don't have much of a social committee.
Okay. Look, we also have, once a year, we have an annual general meeting. And that's where we vote for who's going to be officers in the coming year. And we also take big decisions at that. And also, if need be, we can have an extraordinary general meeting of all of the members in the club if something comes up during the year that we all need to vote on. Like if we were going to buy something which would take a lot of our money, we have some money in the bank. So if we were going to invest that, we'd need to get all the members to agree because it's club money. Then outside our club, there's an annual conference in the district. It'll be next May. And we're all encouraged to go to it. I'll never forget, I went to the one in Sheffield. That was the first one I went to. And that was actually terrific. It really did get me very enthusiastic about Toastmasters. Next year in Liverpool. At the moment, they're trying to figure out what are they going to do because the Eurovision Song Contest has landed in Liverpool at the same date as our annual conference was due to be held. So it'll be changed a little bit. And there'll be educational workshops there and there'll be speech contests there. Now, what I would love Dennis to tell me is, how much time have I got left, Dennis? I haven't been keeping time. How much time have I got left?
Hello, Paul. I stopped the clock on 22 minutes, 29 seconds, Paul.
So I'm already over time. Right. Well, you know, what you do in Toastmasters is that when you get the signal to stop, you should stop.